Welcome to the IMMAF World Amateur MMA Championships. With fighters from all over the globe coming to battle it out over a 5-day tournament on the famous Las Vegas Strip. They will be competing to see who will make it to the final day at the UFC Fan Expo in the Sands and take the title. Program, we will be looking back at the route the athletes took to try and secure gold for their country and themselves. A remarkable journey filled with the disappointment of defeat and the joys of victory. This is the IMMAF World Amateur MMA Championships. In the men's Bantamweight final, we saw the return of last year's champion, Jose Torres. To reach the final, he had to take on Carl McNally of Northern Ireland after a quarter-final win against Salvatore Liga.
So Chris, this bantamweight semi-final sees Jose "Shorty" Torres, last year's gold medalist, up against the much taller Carl McNally from Northern Ireland.
And the champ in the American is going to have his work cut out for him, dealing with a very rangy striker, very accurate striker in McNally. And you can see the evidence of that thus far. Just, oh man, look at the way he moves off the center line when he kicks and then recovers space just beautifully. Very technical striking attack from McNally.
If Torres wants to repeat last year's feat, he's got to get inside this man, surely.
Categorically so, and we know that Torres is tough. We know he's got one heck of a chin. I mean, he's just got granite there, but he's got to start checking those kicks, because taking this storm from Carl McNally, it's going to be a short night if he allows it to continue.
Well, as you said that, he pushes forward, but if I was McNally, I wouldn't get too close to Torres, because he's got the natural tools and he's doing really well. This is where he doesn't want to be. Those kicks were devastating from him. His punches were superb. I'd say keep it at range, keep Torres chasing. Do not tie up with him.
Yeah, Carl McNally, I think, is maybe going to look to get to the clinch and try and land some knees here, but I think he's got to remember that Torres can be relentless when he gets a hold of you, in particular, as you said, in clinch situations. So Torres doing a good job of staying patient here, maintaining control, keeping that 50-50 clinch. Gonna look for the throw! Beautiful stuff from Torres. Man, Jose is so strong, and he gets such good leverage there.
This is what I was worried about for McNally, Chris. He looked so good upright. He was doing all the right things at range. But the moment he tied up, he was almost luring himself into Torres' game.
Absolutely. And we know that we've seen some great improvements from Torres in this tournament thus far compared to last year's performance. And really throwing caution to the wind with that throw. And it's a risky one because sometimes you don't land on top. You see how McNally actually nearly scrambled. But now Torres in that front headlock position, he's got such a great wrestling background. This is the type of position that these guys favor, and he's that prototypical stud wrestler control here, and McNally's gonna have to be very careful. He's gotta watch out for the choke.
And as you said that, he gets himself back upright and into a good position, but this is where he needs to keep it now, and there you go. Nice long kicks, keep it at your range. This is better for McNally.
And whipping that right hook to the body as well as that left kick as well. That's been the sweet spot, right to the breadbasket of Torres. But Torres didn't like that. He closed the distance right away and back in that front headlock position. This is, I think, something that McNally needs to be very wary of.
Well, this is what I think is the difference between the two men is McNally isn't aware as Torres of the dangers, and Torres, as you saw, as soon as he's in danger there, is able and willing to switch it up. McNally needs to be just that bit more switched on as well, because he's in all sorts of problems here now.
Vicious knee to the body from Jose Torres. You could hear that crack home. Man, that guy's got some power again. I think McNally's hurt. That's really hurt him. Time running out though. Wow.
one. Fantastic action. We will get underway with round 2. Fight!
So Chris, as we saw from round 1 there, it's a different set of styles from both men, and really if they stick to their stylistic strength, they'll win the fight.
And I just love how McNally mixes it up. He's constantly swapping stances, constantly using straight shots, constantly using looping shots, constantly moving in and out, 360 with that wheel kick. It's everything to think about, but Torres will take a risk and get in on you that few would dare to in the face of that onslaught.
Now, I don't see why McNally tied up there. I just don't understand it, Chris.
And that's the problem. That's the thing I'm talking about. That's what you got to be worried about with a guy of Torres' caliber. So we knew Torres was good, but this is the best we've ever seen him overcoming such a scary guy with McNally.
Well, he's
getting
flattened
into
him out,
position.
Chris. He's flattened him out now. This is dangerous times. But the other thing we haven't talked about is the economy of movement of Torres. Some of those big kicks from McNally were only just out of range, and that was because of the movement of Torres.
And Torres is putting on a master clinic of control here. I mean, as I said, he's really overcome adversity because McNally was chucking at him an all-you-can-eat buffet of punches and bunches.
Yes, he's got a really good tight defense. He's stocky, he's muscular at the weight. He steps in nicely, and he steps just out of range nicely. But for me, it's been as much about the choices of McNally as well as the choices of Torres. And I think McNally, at key points in this bout, has made the wrong choice.
Big choke here. That looks really deep, Malcolm, and it's it, the tap. Wow, what a great submission for Torres. Big rear naked choke.
Good call there, Chris. And he's through to the final again, second year running. What a great finish.
After 1 minute and 30 seconds of round 2, your winner via rear naked choke, Team USA, Jose Torres. A round of applause for Team USA.
My test is I want to turn professional. So if I win this tournament, it gives me another reason why to. So I'm very excited. It's definitely a great matchup at the end. I have Kazakhstan, and he's a very tough fighter, and it should be a fun experience.
Nerdalik Konashov represents Team Kazakhstan.
The second finalist in the bantamweight division is Nerdalik Konashov. But first, the Kazakhstan fighter had to get past the Italian Marco Zanetti in the semis.
Cage 2 is underway with round 1.
So the bantamweight semi-final, and Nerdalik Konashov from Kazakhstan against Marco Zanetti from Italy, and a real height advantage, Chris, for Zanetti.
This is a great matchup, and all of the fans were talking about these two coming into this bout. Very excited to see what's going to happen between two interesting styles and two dynamic fighters, Malcolm.
Yeah, and I mean, Kazakhstan, a great wrestling background, Chris.
Phenomenal. I mean, you get so many great freestyle guys, and showing off is Konashov with a big takedown, landing right in side control. Dominant position for the Kazakh early here in this round.
Yes, a big start for Konashov, and Zanetti really just taking the ease, to be honest, wasn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, Zanetti was perhaps a little bit cautious in his positioning, and I don't think he was ready for the blitz that Konashov put on him. And Konashov looking to maybe control with this whizzer to get the fight back to a top position, but it's actually the Italian who lands on top.
Yes,
better placement for the Italian.
And you can immediately see, Chris, the different body dynamics of the two men as well.
Very different, and going to be interesting to see whether he can establish a pass on a wrestler who's generally more comfortable on top. Interesting times here for Team Italy. And Marco Zanetti doing a good job of keeping that left shoulder pressure very full on Nerdalik Konashov's chin.
He's done well because it was an incredible slam by Konashov, so Zanetti has really kept his composure and turned this around very strongly.
Totally. I mean, Nerdalik had him airborne there against the fence, slammed him with brutal fashion. And Marco Zanetti exhibiting actually some great ground game skills here, which is why everyone was so excited about this bout. He's in side control.
And yes, and just over a minute left of the round, and from a great start from Konashov, it's been all Zanetti since. And Chris, I want to pick up on what you said about a man being more comfortable on the top here. Is this a dangerous time for Konashov because he'd rather be in the reverse position?
Absolutely. I mean, he comes from a wrestling background. You know, you see sambo guys are usually a bit better on top with submissions. But now Konashov back to his feet. Good hip escape there. And we're back on equal terms.
That's right, with just over the 30-second mark. We're on the 39, 38 seconds coming down, and you feel that if Zanetti keeps us at range now and good boxing, he could take this first round almost quite comfortably after a great start from Konosho.
Yeah, very, very, very true there, because when you consider that Zanetti has a reach advantage, if he kickboxes efficiently here, he'll be able to secure a good position going into round 2 if it does continue on points. Good movement from the Italian, but he gets taken down again. Wow.
So Chris, we've got to balance that, the 2 big takedowns from Konosho against the rest of the round for Zanetti. Where would you go?
Man, Zanetti going for an omoplata here, showing some good bravado, but again, a great level of defense from the Kazaki. What an incredible round, Malcolm.
So Chris, let's summarize that opening round as we go into round 2. Great start and finish by Konosho, but we felt Zanetti had a large part of the interim between that. How would you score it overall, looking back on it?
So difficult to say. I mean, they both took chips out of each other's armor, and they both were looking for ways to try to establish long-term dominant positions, but nothing really lasted. Both fighters securing successful takedowns. Zanetti went for, obviously, a great omoplata there. And it's Konosho again on top and passes immediately, nearing that north-south position. Zanetti throwing up possibly some inverted attacks or maybe look for an inverted triangle, but Konosho having none of it.
But that's the great thing about this bout is Konosho's been frustrated every time by Zanetti. He's got where he's wanted to be, but he hasn't been able to capitalize.
Look at the way he hits that switch on this. I mean, Zanetti was looking for head inside single. Konosho using great leverage there with that right arm deep all the way underneath the leg of the Italian, and that's preventing him from being taken down because the Italian is really going for it on this head inside single leg attack, Malcolm.
As you said, it's and again, if we look at Konosho, it's that typical wrestler's body shape as well, isn't it? So low to the ground, that center of gravity.
He is pushing Zanetti to the brink here. I mean, he has really got high caliber grappling skills, and in my opinion, truly unique in his ability to keep going for it. Even, as you said, as Zanetti was able to take him down, but now Zanetti gets on top and gets back to his feet. Wow, just unbelievable pace in this fight now.
Oh, and a big knee, as you said that, Chris, from Zanetti coming in. And I feel, given the strength of Konosho, Zanetti, I would try to keep it upright that bit longer and really test him upright with those long limbs, because you've been so impressed with the strength and mobility of Konosho.
Yeah, that's been a key feature for sure in Nerdaleg's ability to try and make way towards the end of this round and secure, as you said, positions that he feels will be able to take him towards that big W. But thinking about his previous performance, he can't get over anxious because a guy like Zanetti has, you said, good striking, and as we've seen, some good submission attacks.
So we're inside the last minute again.
Belly down, now going possibly to an armbar, but yeah, Zanetti defends brilliantly, and he's in Konosho's full guard. What composure from the Italian, Malcolm.
And it brings us back to the problem we faced in the first round, Chris. This is one of those that it's all about the judge's perspective now, across both rounds.
Totally, because both fighters have felt strengths, both fighters have felt weaknesses of their opponent, but then it's Konosho going for that armbar, going belly down. That's a wrap again. Big submission win for Nerdaleg, Konosho.
After 2 minutes and 39 seconds into the second round, your winner via armbar, the red corner, Team Kazakhstan, Nerdaleg Konosho.
We know his opponent. This is the guy from US, from America, and this guy is very good and very powerful in grappling. Nerdaleg hopes to show a good fight, maybe as Gennady Golovkin tell, good drama show.
So it's USA versus Kazakhstan. Torres versus Kershaw for the Bantamweight gold.
So our Bantamweight final. Jose Torres from the USA, Nerdaleg Konosho from Kazakhstan. And on the ground, very similar strengths indeed, Chris. But what about upright?
You know, it's interesting because if you consider Torres and obviously hit last year's championship run, he's been able to overcome adversity every single time, weather the storm on the feet, and land big shots that have set up takedowns. We know that Konosho typically likes to shoot in low, not necessarily off big, as I said, striking attacks. That being said, Nerdeleg really throwing flurries now, finishing with kicks. I've been so impressed with this guy in this tournament this year.
I was going to say, Chris, he's showing us something there that we hadn't seen, especially in his semi. Maybe he's trying to adapt because he will know about Torres, especially from last year's wins.
I was going to say, I think both fighters do have an ace up their sleeve still, but the big question is, who is going to be able to defend the takedown? And sometimes when you see two high-level grapplers, they end up striking on the feet, as we're seeing here, which has been a real treat for the audience in Vegas.
And as you said, Chris, high-level grapplers, their body shape's almost identical, aren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, real stocky, powerful, good, as you said, ability to sort of shrug off and attempt takedowns in their own right. It's just been, again, the perfect style matchup for a brilliant final here in the IMMAF Bantamweight division.
Now, Konasho has really impressed me there with the striking, but the moment they tied up, it was instinctive knees from Torres.
And Torres, again, looking to back off Konashov, I believe, and cut that ring. Trying to work the geometry a bit, but then it's Konashov who shoots in. As I said, that's what I was waiting for. He comes in and changes levels so well, but then again eats the knees from Torres.
This is the difference, Chris, between the semi-final and the final. When he shot in on his Italian opponent Zanetti in the semis, he took him down with ease. But Torres is totally different here, isn't he? Coming from the similar sort of background, the similar style body, and then every time he comes in, those vicious knees to prevent the takedown.
And you know, 2 minutes in, both fighters have caught rhythm at certain points in the round thus far. Very even fight. I'm looking to see who can run away with it in the last minute of this round.
Yes, and again, for me, the difference between the two at the moment is these knees from Torres when they tie up. He's relentless with them. You're trying to see a little bit of dirty boxing there from Nerdeleg, but the control at the moment is coming from Torres.
Yeah, Torres doing a good job. And look at the way he actually gets that head snap there. That is high-level stuff. Possibly looking for a guillotine here. That looks really tight, Malcolm.
He's tapped, Chris. He's tapped. It's all over. He's done it again.
Wow. Torres puts him clean out with that high-elbow guillotine. What a massive win for the American. Ladies and gentlemen, your IMMAF World Champion.
For the second time.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 2 minutes 31 seconds into the first round, referee Ferdinand Bassan calls a stop to the fight for your winner by tap out due to guillotine choke, and still IMMAF World Amateur Bantamweight Champion, representing Team USA, Jose Torres. And here they are, ladies and gentlemen, your finalists for the World Amateur Bantamweight Division. Taking home the bronze to Team Italy, Marco Zanetti, and Team Sweden, Carl McNally. Taking home the silver from Team Kazakhstan, Nerdeleg Konashov. Ladies and gentlemen, here they are, the world's elite World Amateur Bantamweights.
The female flyweight final saw the return of Micol Segni taking part in her second World Championship. In her way in the semi-final was Michaela Dostalova from the Czech Republic.
Cage door closes and we will get underway with round 2.
So Chris, second round coming up, and both young ladies here had really good moments in the opening round, real back and forward stuff.
Yeah, the Italian Segni doing a very good job in some explosive transitions. She showed her ability to overcome adversity and end up in some very good dominant threatening positions, just like right now. But as we've seen, Michaela, the Czech fighter, also very strong in her own right and showed some good ability to land some offense as well as defensive positions.
Now, early in the first round, you said about the height difference and the weight ratio. Dostalova, you were impressed with the way she could use that, but I'm equally impressed by the strength of Segni in her defense.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I think Dostalova was at her biggest advantage when she was able to land kickboxing attacks, particularly with those kicks to the leg and the body of her opponent in Micol Segni. So I think she's going to want to get back up to the feet where she can be at a premium.
Has this shocked you, though, that the taller girl on the bottom like this and being controlled at the moment? by the Italian?
Well, she's had some really, really good technique and preparation in the build-up to this bout. The Italian, again, being very methodical, very surgical in her approach. She's not rushing anything, and she's always watching how she pins the Czech fighter to the mat. And up against the cage, that's going to limit Michaela's ability to get back up to her feet if she can maintain side control against her.
Now, and again, the longer this goes on, the longer, unlike the first round where it was very back and forward, you're giving the judges something to say, this is me. And the longer this goes on, Micol, you're looking at this second round being taken by her, aren't
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Micol, you know, with this pressure, I think that's going to be the barometer by which the judges are going to measure this if it does go all the way through this round. Because she's shutting down the Czech fighter's ability to land any offense and really imposing her will, Malcolm. Look at the way she flays her hips there, then moves right back to full side control, probably going to work cross-body position here. It's just very dominant and impressive to see.
Now, you say impressive, it's obviously the referee is also happy with that work weight.
Completely. I mean, I'm of the opinion if you can put someone down on their back, that is fighting. What she is doing is effective grappling. That is one of the key elements by which the judges score under these unified rules. This is winning the fight. This is bringing something to which your opponent has no answer, Malcolm.
So, having said that, Michaela Dostalova, what is the answer? How does she get out of this position, Chris?
Well, she needs to probably try and cage walk, but it's going to be difficult from the side control position. So what she needs to do is shrimp. It's going to be, again, difficult with her back against the wall. What I would look for is what we call an empty half guard, where she actually will bring her right leg over the leg. You see the way she's drifting it in? There we go. That's the one. And then she can begin to regain half guard from there. But then again, you notice the ability of Segni to scramble. She read that perfectly, Malcolm, and did not allow the Czech fighter to apply.
Yes, superb transition, superb strength, and some tight little knees there. So for me, this is a big round for the Italian.
And Micol Segni just pushing Michaela Dostalova to the limit here, Malcolm. It's the IMMAF World Championship.
And round two.
So third and final round, and round two, Chris, definite daylight between the two in favour of Segni, the Italian, with total dominance, wasn't it?
Total dominance, just a cut above anything Michaela could offer on the ground in particular. She was a real wizard in maintaining positions, but I think, as was said, Michaela now able to start this round afresh on her feet, and I think Dostalova is going to want to make sure she keeps that kickboxing attack in full swing.
Now, that said, if you were in Segni's corner, you'd want to take Dostalova down as soon as possible, wouldn't you? And continue, because in a way it's also safe, isn't it? There was no danger for Segni with a possible final to go into as well. This is all important things to think of.
Well, Micol was able to stick to Michaela like glue, but now it's Michaela with that judo technique again on top, but the Italian scrambling hard. Michaela reads that very nicely. Look at that back transition, but then, wow. Segni knew exactly when she needed to rotate and then ends up in full guard. Man, that is high-level grappling.
This is the problem for Dostalova. 3 times I've been really impressed with her takedown ability, but once she's there, Segni has managed to then turn it to her advantage.
And I think what's more impressive is the energy that Segni brings to the table. She has been able to move at the perfect time. That is such high-level stuff. She knows exactly when to expend the energy, Malcolm.
And again, with a minute and a half on the clock, unless there's a submission from Dostalova, you feel that Segni will be in control again.
Yeah, she's passing beautifully there with that double underpass, stacking and controlling the legs. She will not release the legs until she's completed the pass. And look at the hammer fist. Stays busy on fire. Man, Segni is on fire.
That's right, and in round two as well, we saw those subtle knees to the midsection when she was transitioning as well. It's like she's totally frustrated, Michaela Dostalova, and not allowed her to do anything of any note. And the longer she keeps her here, Chris, the more chance she's got of reaching that final very cleanly.
Yeah, and really just showing such incredible heart and determination in the way she was able to change the course of this fight. She really turned the ship around from round 1, moving into 2 and 3. And here, with about 45 seconds left on this clock, she is in a great position, the Italian in peak form.
And when you think of possibly another bout, that final over 3 rounds, she's minimised any danger, any damage. She will go into that relatively fresh, won't she?
And Dostalova just tasting this pressure non-stop from the Italian, and just with not much time on the clock, in a really terrifying position here with the clock running, as I said, Malcolm, and probably points not on her side.
And Segni, to her credit, has really negated any advantages that might have came in with Dostalova.
And that's what made this such a great matchup, because as you can see, the Italian fighter just displaying such dominance. What a great performance.
Yes, and we're certain now that Micol Segni from Italy will be going into the final.
We do come to a judge's decision, and they have declared it a unanimous decision for your blue corner, Team Italy, Micol Segni. A round of applause for both young women.
Yeah, I made it to the finals, and I'm gonna fight as hard as I can. The experience of last year taught me so much, and I knew how the tournament was gonna be. For me, is a life-changing experience, and is everything I dream of. And I've never wanted anything as much as winning the gold to this tournament.
Facing Segni in the final is Anja Saxmark from Sweden. Her journey to the final was through a fight against Natalie Ausmir from South Africa.
Final bout of the day, referee checks with the judges, timekeepers at cage side. The two fighters are underway with round one.
So flyweight semi-final, Natalie Ausmir from South Africa against Anja Saxmark from Sweden. And straight to it, Chris.
And this one guaranteed a barn burner. These two athletes are known for high output, close range exchanges. And as you can see so far, both throwing tons of strikes, working in and out of the clinch in center ring.
Yes, lots of knees, and the trip attempt there from Saxmark, and she gets it, takes it to ground, tests the South African.
And the Swede displaying some good positional control here in half guard, but you can notice that the South African's looking to control with that right arm, stiff armed on the hip, and work back to full guard, but going to be tough against the cage.
Yes, Anja Saxmark took her opportunity, took it well, took her up to the cage. And we've seen previously here, Chris, it can be so important for the judges when you control the ground game. Not necessarily get the submission, but show to be the dominant force on the ground.
Absolutely, and Anja Saxmark doing a good job of slowing this down, working to slide her right knee through the guard, working that knee slice pass, and it's very methodical. It's a bit of a stalling technique, but the thing is, as you slow your opponent down and put so much pressure down on them, you can't but help then allow that pass to go through, because it's very difficult to move your body when you have so much shoulder pressure, for example. The way Anja was pressuring her, and now Anja on top, chucking down those bombs, being very smart though in the way she targets and sets them up. Really picking her strikes, Malcolm.
Now this is the great thing about a tournament situation as well, because not only has Natalie Ausmir got to be worried about the dominance of the position, but you can't afford to take damage when there's a final at stake as well.
And Ausmir, with a sense of urgency, hits that wrestler's roll and now is actually within Saxmark's full guard. Interesting turn of events here, Malcolm, but I can see that the Swede was looking for a triangle there, trying to stuff the right arm of the South African. Maybe going to switch up to an armbar. Way, that's really neat the way she has such flexibility to work those legs over. But this is very difficult against the cage. Wow, that looks pretty deep, Malcolm.
Ausmir now, desperation stakes, throwing down the hammer fist, Chris.
But she's got to defend that arm. If you don't lock up that arm, there's a danger of it being hyperextended. Wow, a lot of time to work with here. Unbelievable swap up from the Swede to go for that submission, Malcolm. That looks really tight.
Ausmir again, just trying to hammer fist down. Still 30 seconds. This is dangerous times for the South African.
And our referee in charge looking very carefully here for a technical submission, possibly. If he senses that Natalie Ausmir is unable to defend, he will stop this bout. But the South African, for the moment, surviving, Malcolm.
Well, you're right. It is a survival game with under 10 seconds left. The referee will be aware of this as well, won't he, Chris, to give her every opportunity now.
And the hammer fist still coming down, but I think the clock will run out. Wow.
Round one. We will get underway with round two.
Now, Chris, this is the thing. Anja Saxmark very dominant in the opening round, especially with the submission attempts. But when you think there's a final to come as well, she took a lot of hammer fists in keeping that submission attempt that didn't pay off for her in the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it showed some great ring craft to be able to set up that position against the fence. That being said, when you're going for an arm lock like that, what you're not doing is covering up from punches. So, you know, Natalie Ausmir did a good job of surviving what was a scary position. I'm wondering to see if we'll see something like that end up on the ground here in round 2 again.
Now, obviously, for Ausmir, the danger is even when she reversed, she was in that submission position, so she'll realise the strength of Saxmark's ground game. Will she want to keep it upright now for longer in this second round?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw some killer instinct from the Swede off her back, but we also saw some good will, some good grit and determination from the South African. I'm not sure whether or not she'll be able to outmuscle the Swede in the clinch, and that for me is the problem, Malcolm, but she's looking for a throw here. Wow, gets the bout to the ground, but may end up giving up her back. Again, a very difficult position when you've got someone's hook in, as you've seen here.
Now, this has been the difficulty for Ausmir right throughout. As you said, she got good position in the opening round. She did technically everything right, but still found herself under pressure. That must be so frustrating when you're very equal upright. You take it to ground, and no matter what you do, there's always a danger from your opponent.
Yeah, and she's got some pretty good weight distribution and posture here, but the danger is the actual leverage that the Swede will get now from having one hook in, now actually moving to a mount position, man. And that just shows the muscle factor that I was talking about from Anja Saxmark.
And this has been the problem for Natalie Ausmir. In real terms, technically, she's done very little wrong.
But it's the fact that Anja was able to check her with that physique. And, you know, whatever feeling out process that occurred, it's definitely with the temperature rising, once again, with the Swede on top. Full mount.
And this is what the judge is going to see for long periods of the first round, long periods of this second round. It's not hard to judge this one if it keeps up, if it goes any further, if she lands more bombs like that right hand, and they're coming down now. Dangerous times for Natalie Ausmir. Referee looking very closely at this ground and pound, Chris.
And riding the wave with her athleticism is Anja Saxmark. And you'll notice the way she takes that high mount and constantly skydives. Anytime, for example, Natalie Ausmir wants to buck and escape, you'll see that the little outrigger hands of the Swede go out and maintain position. Very textbook approach.
And the referee hovering all the time now because there's a lot of punishment for Ausmir. And that left hand traps the head for the right hand to go to work, Chris. How much longer do you think he'll let this go?
There's been at least 25, 30 unanswered shots. Continuing here towards the end of the round, 10 seconds to go.
Just like the first round, Ausmir hung on desperately in the first. She's looking to do the same in the second, but it's going to be two big rounds for the Swede, Anja Saxmark.
End of round 2. Round of applause for fantastic action, man. We will get underway with round 3, final round.
So there's no doubt about this. The Swede, Anja Saxmark, is 2 rounds to the good. If she's got any hope at all of getting to this final, this is what Natalie Ausmir has to do, isn't it? Swing and hope to land cleanly.
And Ausmir doing a good job of pressing forward. You know, you've got to ask the question, really, what was the effect of those strikes? How hurt is she? What's left in the gas tank? We're going to find out. It's the IMMAF World Championships, round 3.
And Chris, this is the right tactic because she's not going to win it on points. Whatever happens, Ausmir has to keep this pressure up, keep swinging, take some to give even more. And she's this for the first time in the bout. I think she's taking the right tactic.
Categorically so. The South African with the correct strategy there. You can see her biting down on her mouthpiece, just really going for it. Not much head movement, Malcolm, but all heart.
Yes, and she landed a very clean right hand. She just took one there back from Saxmark, who keeps that left hand tight and starts pushing out the right hand. But I thought it would only be a matter of time before Saxmark didn't want to play that game anymore.
And I think the right tactic would be getting back to open space and waiting for the Swede to kick. And you got to play the game of punch the kick or try to catch her with a kick coming in, a single kick, a lazy kick, and then crack her with a right hand. Because Ausmir landed a few nice shots there. But as you said, the Swede cutting down the range and Anja back in home territory where she feels more comfortable.
Yes, and a nice knee coming up there as she controls the wrists of Ausmir. Best start to a round so far. If we're looking for plus points for the South African, you'd like to have seen her do that with that sort of like lack of caution, maybe in the first or second round.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she was very worried, I think, about the Swedes' reach advantage, but now with Anja on top, she's got to keep it no nonsense and really go for it here, but it's going to be tough when you're backed up against the fence.
And we've got history to prove that the first 2 rounds, haven't we? We know as the round goes on, the longer it stays on the ground, the harder it is for Ausmir to stay with Saxmark.
And the harder it's going to be with this pace. I mean, you've got someone with probably a little bit of a size advantage and a frame advantage on top. It is very taxing.
And she's trapping that left arm now with that right knee, Chris. And this is where the fight's been won and lost for these girls.
Yeah, and look at the way she passes, using that instep to press down on the left leg of Ausmir, sliding here into full mount. That's got to be frustrating.
Yes, and we're inside the last minute, come inside the last 30 seconds now. And apart from that first maybe 30 seconds to 40 seconds of the third round, a really dominant performance by Saxmark.
Yeah, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Just a very confident performance, moreover, from Anya Saxmark. And moving on to the final, likely, if she can eke out the last 20 seconds here, she's going to have a good shot at taking this.
Yes, for me it looks very likely. We're going to go into the last 10 seconds very shortly. And sadly for Natalie Ausmir, she's found herself in this position far too long across the 3 rounds. And there's the exclamation mark from Anya Saxmark, who I feel the Swedish competitor is going into the final. No doubt about that one.
Round 3, the final round. Ladies and gentlemen, the distance, and we will go to the judges' scorecard. After 3 rounds of fantastic women's flyweight action, the judges have come to a unanimous decision for your winner. Out of the blue corner, Anya Saxmark, Team Sweden. A round of applause for both young women.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I've been training about like 15 to 20 hours a week since January, so that's like really a dream still.
So it's an all-European final for the IMMAF Female Flyweight Championship in Las Vegas.
So this is the flyweight final. Micol Segni versus Anya Saxmark. And Chris, 2 girls with very similar styles, having watched their semi-finals.
Yeah, 2 grinders, 2 very physically strong fighters for this weight class. And I think this is going to be a brilliant matchup here for the audience in Vegas at the Sands with our big world title final.
Now, the thing that really gets me is the fact that both girls, the way they won their semi-final was their dominance on the ground. But now you're against someone with that same strength and skill. This is where, for me, it actually becomes exciting to wait till they hit that canvas.
Yeah, there's so much going on right now. Both fighters swapping grips, swapping leverage points, over-under, and really jockeying for position. I mean, I just love these transitional moments because it's really what connects all the pieces, all the little elements, if you will, of mixed martial arts together.
The other thing that we saw from Segni's semi-final is that she knows how to negate height advantage.
Absolutely, and if you look at the way Anya responded there, she actually released the overhook, went to the full tie plunge, but then went right back to the overhook when she felt that Micol Segni was going to get underneath her. So just great ring craft, great awareness, great fight IQ, Malcolm.
And here we go, and it's Segni that looks to go to ground, but here's where it gets intriguing because no disrespect to their semi-final opponents.
Man, Anya again going with her leg all the way over the shoulder of Segni, looking for that far side arm lock, but she actually may have a triangle here if she wants it from the top.
Well, I was just about to say, Chris, that neither of the girls faced an opponent that you felt was as competent on the ground. I feel that in terms of ability, we have got that equal levels here, but as you said, once again, it's Anya Saxmark really showing early in this bout.
Yeah, these two are so well-rounded, but Anya in a great position, but Segni escapes. And again, it just shows the ability that we saw in Segni's last bout of her ability to time and be perfectly aware of when the best time is to actually scramble. Armbar attempt, once again from Anya.
This is the difference though, Chris. Dostalova in the semi-final didn't have that arsenal. When Segni attacked, she had to go into basic defensive mode. It's a different thing now against Anya Saxmark.
And Anya just with some big-time intensity in these submission attacks. She does such a great job of chaining from submission to submission to a neutral position, back to a submission again. Look at the way she went back to full guard. Now she's going to work for an armbar, but a big escape from Micol Segni there with that limp arm armbar escape. And Segni possibly working to get to the back here, and they're all back on their feet again.
Well, as you can see again in this bout, Chris, she's the smaller woman of the two, but phenomenal strength at that size.
And very seasoned. You know, she hasn't backed down. Anya's got a couple more fights at amateur than her, but just great consistency from these two so far in this bout.
So with 10 seconds down, a wonderful opening round and very close still, Chris.
Very close, you know. Both fighters bringing the offense, both fighters with effective defense. And as you said, it was as we expected, much of it centered around the grappling. So round 2, and for me what's pivotal is when Segni gets the takedowns in
the semi-final against Dostalova, she could then do what she wanted. And in the same token, Saxmark in her semi-final against Osmir could do what she wanted. It's different here in this final.
Yeah, very different, because both fighters have that premium level of conviction. The type that you see of fighters who are going to end up in this big world title bout. So going for the gold medal, everything to fight for, I think round 2 may be the one that decides the bout if we do go the distance.
Now, Chris, we had Segni initiating the takedowns, but we had a couple of submission attempts from Saxmark. For me, that made it a very tough opening round to call.
Absolutely, when you consider that the Italian had very dominant positions, great escapes, great scrambles, but the fact that, as you said, Anya Saxmark was so relentless in putting those pieces of the submission puzzle together. So it's just been non-stop entertainment here for the Vegas fans.
Having had a good look at both of them in the first round, is there anything you could see either one of them doing to maybe shock the other one or take it out of what's becoming a formula in this bag?
Yeah, well, I've seen Anya go for the full tie plum. She's going to be able to really, obviously, as you said, have that leverage advantage if she does throw some knees, just like that left knee there. So maybe that will be a decisive factor in these grappling exchanges. What we also haven't seen is both of them in the middle of the ring in a kickboxing bout. So we'll have to see if it does get back to center space.
That's a good point, because when it got to center space in the Segni semi-final, she looked quite handy upright.
Absolutely. So with a little bit of a break here, we're going to have that opportunity as our referee separates the two.
Yeah, still wonderfully poised. We're just over a minute now, and the Segni pushing forward again. And Viraj, but you always feel that even though she was pushing forward there, it was to get to the clinch once more and the takedown.
Yeah, and what makes it so interesting to me is the ability that Anya has to apply in these situations, even though it may not be to a distinct advantage. Because, you know, in round 2 now, 2 minutes in, you really look for one fighter to start to really run away with it, but this was been so evenly matched, and the Italian with the takedown again, nearly completed. And again, you're going to see Anya go for that far side arm lock attack where she brings her right leg all the way over. Look at her reach in for this arm now.
Well, this was the thing, Chris. We saw Segni relentless in her semi-final when she went for the takedowns, and you like the way she would transition and pop out of dangerous situations. I just feel, and I think you agree, that Saxmark will create more of those dangerous situations for her if she isn't on the top of the game.
Yeah, certainly. She's been arguably closer to finishing the fight via submission. But Segni's really doing a good job of riding her out here. She's got great wrestling. And look at the way she jumps on her back like a ghost. Boom, out of nowhere. And then locks those 2 hooks in. This is dangerous.
She really is relentless, the Italian Micol Segni. She applies pressure. We're inside the last 10 seconds. For me, this is key now for her going into the 3rd round ahead.
Absolutely. There's been so much intensity, so much effort, and such high-level technique. What a great final. Cannot wait for round 3.
So 3rd and final round, and we finally think we've got a bit of daylight between them in favour of the Italian Micol Segni. But it's only a little bit of daylight, Chris. This is still so close.
It's crisp boxing, actually, from the Italian. There we go. There's that low kick. This is what I was waiting for.
Superb right hand, Chris. Drops Anya Saxmark, beautifully timed, and for the first time the Swede is under real pressure.
Yeah, man, she cracked her with that one. That was the best shot of the fight, without a doubt, as far as the punching goes. And this is where I was very curious to see what would happen. And as we've said in the end of round 2, just the Italian oozing confidence, Malcolm.
Yes, she really is like a little Rottweiler. Once she's got you, she does not let you go, does she?
And staying relentless in the clinch situation, back to the patterns that we've seen in round 1 and 2. And just on target is the Italian. And I think Anya's still trying to get her wits about her, Malcolm.
Yes, that was a great right hand, clean through the channel. Shocked, I think, Anya, as you said. And then Micol now, it's these little shots to the stomach. She's working up and down. She gives you no time to think, no time to breathe, and keeps pushing forward. Look at the determination on her face.
And I think that's been one of the biggest threads to her success in this bout, is not letting Anya off the hook. When you've got a woman who's got reach advantage, leverage advantage, maybe even a submission advantage, obviously an experience advantage in her fight record coming into this tournament, you just got to keep going, like the Terminator hand, crawling and going forward and forward. The Italian just doing a beautiful job of that.
And let's put this in perspective as well. These are 2 women that have done 3 full rounds in their semi-finals, and although they won comfortably, they weren't easy rounds. They had to work the full time. Wonderful cardio from both these women.
And they've also had tough fights coming, as you said, into this bout. it's been just a beautiful thing to see the high-level conditioning that these two have brought to what has been a very entertaining match for the crowd.
Now, Micol de Segni keeping Anya Saxmark tied up, and when it's been upright, we asked the question, could one of them maybe make a difference upright? For me, de Segni has.
And she also looks the fresher of the two fighters here. Now less than a minute to go in this World Championship. And I think she's really running away with it, Malcolm.
Well, the thing is, the takedown attempts from Saxmark don't carry the authority anymore, do they?
And as you said, de Segni just able to really take advantage and really steal this fight. I don't know if Anya's got something up her sleeve, but 30 seconds to go, she's got to go for it.
That's right. For me, the pivotal moment was that last 20 seconds of the second round. Suddenly, de Segni saw daylight and then came out, and the upright battle that we thought might come really went in her favor.
And you can see that the Swede was thinking about locking up that full tie plum for a couple of knees, but man, big flourish from the Italian. What a fight.
And I think we're going to see the gold medalist here. That finish for me seals it. I think we've got an Italian gold medalist.
What a brilliant performance from Micol de Segni. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have a new world champ.
Ladies and gentlemen, after a 3-round war, we have your winner by unanimous decision and IMMAF Women's World Amateur Flyweight Champion, the red corner, representing Team Italy, Micol de Segni. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen, the world's elite women's world amateur flyweights. Taking the bronze to South Africa, Natalie Jean Osimir. Also taking the bronze to the Czech Republic, Michaela Ostalova. Taking the silver to Team Sweden, Anya Saxmark. And taking the gold, Team Italy, Micol de Segni. Let's hear it for all of our IMMAF Women's World Amateur Flyweights, ladies and gentlemen.
Next up, we have the men's light heavyweight title. Making his way to the final was the experienced Canadian Saeid Mirzaei, whose route was via Northern Ireland's Dennis Perry.
Referee checks with both fighters, and we are underway with round one.
So, light heavyweight semi-final, Saeid Mirzaei from Canada, big KO in his quarter-final in the first round, fresh for this semi, against Dennis Perry from Northern Ireland, Chris, who had to go all the way to get his decision.
Yeah, the Irishman with a very, very gritty performance in the last round. And as we've seen with the Canadian, he's going to have his work cut out for him against a guy who likes to finish hard and early. Big slam here coming up for the Canadian and Saeid Mirzaei.
Yes, and looking to take Dennis Perry's back. As we said, we knew he'd be the fresher of the two. His confidence would be high. You finish with a big KO.
That looks like a Japanese necktie, and it looks very, very tight, Malcolm. Wow. That is a brutal submission. Big, big win for the Canadian.
Cage 2, in 41 seconds of the very first round, winner via Japanese necktie, Team Canada, Saeid Mirzaei. Saeid Mirzaei, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for both competitors.
It's a dream come true. I've been amateur since I was 18 years old. I'm 23. I could have turned pro a long time ago, and this is the opportunity I've been waiting for years. I'll take the gold home for Canada.
Also fighting for gold is the Bulgarian Tencho Karaneev. He had already beaten Steve Stewart of the UK, and his semi-final was against Paolo Anastasi from Italy.
So, semi-final time here at light heavyweight. Paolo Anastasi from Italy against Tencho Karaneev from Bulgaria. And Tencho straight away takes his man to the ground.
No surprise for the strategy from the Bulgarian. Immediately with that power shot and pressing the Italian up against the fence here. That is one scary dude and a man on a mission, Malcolm.
That's right, Chris. If we look at his quarterfinal, rear naked choke in the second round, he knows how to finish. Paolo had to go fully to decision against the American, and that does take its toll in a tournament format, doesn't it?
And look at that pass from the Bulgarian. Just pure beast mode is this grappler, putting a ton of pressure and very early on the Italian.
This is the thing, you know that Paolo would not want to be in this position with still over 2 minutes left, with such a powerhouse here in front of him.
Absolutely, look at the way he holds him there. I mean, that is just textbook wrestling. Very, very, very tough to get out of those positions when you've got a guy holding on to you like that with that kind of leverage, and more importantly, strength. He's so physically gifted now, and we've seen that in his performance thus far.
And Chris, is that the guillotine on there?
Yeah, it looks pretty tight. I'm not sure if he's going to go arm in on that, but he's going to ride out the position and not drop for the tap until he has it. And if he can get on the back, we know that's where he'd love to be. But full guard for the Italian. Nice scramble there.
Well, we've got no way of knowing yet how good Paolo Anastasi is upright at that sort of range, because he wasn't given the opportunity right from the bell. Tensho Karanev was straight on him, wasn't he?
Yeah, no-nonsense approach and just great weight distribution, great pace from the Bulgarian fighter, and not much reply thus far from the Italian.
Well, you mentioned weight distribution. He's strong, he's stocky at the weight, whereas Paolo is tall and lean, and this doesn't suit him when he's in this position, does it?
It depends. I mean, up against the cage, he's not going to be able to have a ton of mobility. I'd like to see how he is off his back here in this position, especially against a wrestler who sometimes have a tendency to leave their arms in. If you notice the way that the Bulgarian's got that left arm on the mat, that could be a dangerous position. For example, if Paolo looks for a triangle like he's looking for here, off that right overhook that he's controlling, or excuse me, the left overhook on the right arm of the Bulgarian.
Could that simply be a matter of confidence here with Karanev, because he's done what he wanted at will at the moment, that, you know, you get just a bit overconfident possibly?
Well, sometimes wrestlers kind of go for a strength and positional power-based approach, and they don't necessarily worry too much about the technical intricacies of giving up an arm, for example. But, you know, make no mistake about it, Tensho's been here before, and he's also come away in dominant position and gauged submissions on guys too. So let's just see how this unfolds. It's an interesting dichotomy for sure of styles.
Well, we're inside the last 30 seconds, and really Paolo Anastasi has been on the defensive right from the start. This has been a dominant round for his Bulgarian opponent.
Absolutely.
What can he do differently, Chris?
Yeah, well, it's been the fact that Karanev's been able to force him into this game plan. I don't really think Paolo's done too much wrong. He's defended most positions. He's got full guard back, but he's just been unable to offer any offense in the face of this frightening onslaught from the Bulgarian.
Oh, but Chris, look, I think you see there that he took a low blow from the left leg of the Italian Anastasi. I don't think it was intentional, but he's saying yes, it was the left leg.
That's a great observation, Malcolm. Totally inadvertent, but he's going to have some time to recover through this round. We'll see how it continues into the next.
Cage 2 underway with round 2.
So round 2, Chris, and Karanev was dominant in the first, but he took that low blow right at the end of the round. Will it change his tactic?
Not whatsoever, as the evidence would indicate. You can see with that big shot all the way across the ring. I mean, that's the difference between some of the other wrestling that we've seen thus far in this tournament, is this guy, when he gets a hold of you, he commits entirely and will run you all the way across to the opposite side of the fence. Just relentless.
Now for Anastasi, it's deja vu. No chance to show his skills, no chance to show us what he's got upright. He's fighting for his life again on his back.
And look, let's be honest, he wasn't caught napping. He can't have assumed for a moment that the Bulgarian wasn't going to go and try and steamroll him, but it's just a testament to the effective skills that Tensho Karanev brings to this tournament.
Let's look at that. One of the things for a man his side, it's the speed.
Yeah, and it's tailor-made the way he comes in against a guy who's taller. He gets right below the hips, commits entirely. You know, in these rule sets, he's not worried about a knee to the face, and it's just beautiful to watch.
And he's forced Paolo to take his weight right throughout the round, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, and he's had a real preference for that pressure. And not only dictating position, but being able to represent, I guess, a high-level proficiency in his ability to make a guy suffer in positions. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up strikes, and I believe Tensho hopes a submission eventually if he can get it.
Well, this is dangerous times for Anastasi. This is a big man on top in the mount, and we see here at these championships that the referees are very conscious of protecting the amateur fighters.
But here is the position that we know he favors, getting on that back, stretching out, trying to get that second hook in against the Italian is Tensho Karanev. And this could be dangerous, Malcolm.
Yes, Paolo Anastasia had no opportunity here to show his skills in this bout. He's been dominated so far by Karanev, and these are really dangerous times for him, and there's still plenty of time for the Bulgarian to work on this.
Very ferocious from the Bulgarian. He's doing a good job of maintaining an underhook with his left arm that'll keep him from riding too high and popping off. But the Italian trying to find when the right or most opportune moment will be for him to escape this position, but he cannot allow these shots to come down on him.
Well, the other problem he's had is he's had to carry the weight of Karanev the full 2 rounds virtually, hasn't he?
Absolutely, he's felt the strength of him the entire time. And here comes that choke attack, almost underneath the chin of the Italian.
I think Paolo is too tired now. I think this will stay, and I think he will be forced to tap in.
And
He's very fatigued.
Yeah, wow. And the tap from Anastasi. What a win for the Bulgarian. All the way now to the final. Great win.
That's right. The submission powerhouse takes those skills into the light heavyweight final.
Cage 2, after 2 minutes and 31 seconds of the second round, your winner via rear naked choke, Team Bulgaria, the blue corner, Karanev. Karanev, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Team Bulgaria. And again, fantastic sportsmanship.
First for him is fighting and to win. Doesn't matter against whom and where.
Yes, I will get the gold and I will go with it in Bulgaria.
With both men very hungry for gold, it is Mirzaei of Canada against Karanev of Bulgaria in the final.
So, Chris, we have a potentially explosive light heavyweight final with Saeid Mirzaei from Canada and Tencho Karanev from Bulgaria.
As the crowd eagerly awaits with anticipation, 2 submission artists going at it. 2 of the most experienced guys in this entire tournament. This is going to be a barn burner.
And Chris, Mirzaei hasn't been out of the first round in his quarter or his semi. A KO and a submission, and we've seen Karanev ground 2 of his opponents out with submissions.
And, you know, Karanev cuts a little bit more weight. He's right at the weight limit here, and we know that guy's got a vice grip if he gets on your back. So this just makes it very intriguing to see who's going to get a dominant position, who's going to get a favorable position, and who might be able to strike first.
And having luckily followed their quarterfinal and semi-final performances, I just cannot see this going 3 rounds.
Yeah, that's a great point, but you know, 2 high-level guys bring a lot of different skills to the table, and I'm curious to see if they can nullify each other or whether one of them will strike with that venom first.
Well,
wow.
the problem for Mirzaei is, as you pointed out earlier, Karanev, when he gets hold of you, he's so hard to get rid of.
But unbelievable scrambles in reply from the Canadian. I mean, Karanev nearly had him down now once, now twice, and he's kept flowing all the way. He's kept with him, Malcolm. Very technical.
Now, when they've got such a similar skill set, does size make a difference?
Oh, man, but look at that. Speaking of technique, that figure 4 Kimura sweep coming from the Canadian. You heard the Bulgarian grimace in pain. He's cranking hard, Malcolm. Will this be it?
It's dangerous times indeed, you're right, Chris. He's looking... Oh, listen to that!
Wow! What a fantastic submission via Kimura for Saeid Mirzaei, your champ from Canada.
Yes, and size made absolutely no difference whatsoever, and you can see what a happy man he is, what this gold medal means to him.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 1 minute 11 seconds into the first round, referee Mirzaei calls a stop to the fight for your winner by submission to Kimura and IMMAF World Amateur Light Heavyweight Champion representing Canada, Saeid Mirzaei.
Well, it ended quicker than I thought. In the beginning, it was rougher than I thought because I thought I'd be able to control him a bit more. My distancing felt a bit off, and then I was able to jump on a Kimura and grab it. Incredible, man. I've cried and bled and fought for so long to be a top-level amateur, and you know, it's finally materialized into something. And I feel like my life's about to change, and it's like a door opening.
Taking the bronze home to Italy.
Quick.
Paolo Anastasia. Also taking home the bronze to Northern Ireland, Dennis Perry. And taking the silver home to Bulgaria, Encho Ariane. And the gold goes to Team Canada, Saeid Mirzaei. Elite of the elite, ladies and gentlemen, the IMMAF World Amateur Light
episode, but look out for more action from the IMMAF World Amateur MMA Championship.